Hi, everyone. Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
It's awesome to see everyone. Thanks for joining today. Okay, so I think just to start us off, let me know one word how you're feeling today. Good, bad, whatever. Just raw, one word. How are you feeling today?
Excited.
Cool. I know I heard someone say, I love this. They said that they were really bummed they got an interview and couldn't come. I think that is the point of this all. Okay, anticipatory, expectant, engaged, ready.
Ready.
Cool. Love it. Love it. Okay, so let's get started. We have so much to pack in today. I'm going to keep adding people into the waiting room and we will kick off. And I am actually going to mute you all. And then if we need to go off mute, we can, but pretty much it'll be a whole session today and then we will and then we'll um do questions. Any questions? I think I'll put this in housekeeping, but you can put them in the chat and stuff. Okay, sounds good. How am I feeling? I'm feeling bad. My daughter's home from daycare. My husband's watching her. It's kind of like it's been like 2 weeks of sickness, but I think everyone's gone through that this summer, this winter. So, okay. I'm gonna mute all. Okay, cool. And I have my Canva presentation somewhere. So it's cool because this is the first one, so it's going to be a little bumpy. But thank you for bearing with me. Okay, that is a big screen. Okay. I've never done a Canva presentation, like where you present through Canva. So let's see here. All right. Tell me how that looks for you guys. Just put it in the chat. Can everybody see that? Good. You only see that screen. Awesome. Okay. Awesome. Well, thank you all for being here. I hope this is a fun week. Like if there's ever such thing as a fun week for job searching. I know I was glad to see that no one felt like sad or upset or frustrated or any of the things I hear about a job search. So I'm happy to hear that. And I need to keep adding in participants, but I think we're good. All right, this is going to be the Job Search Breakthrough Masterclass. We are going to work on standing out in a crowded market and landing the job you deserve. I'm so excited to show you all this. Let me see if I can. How do I advance? Oh, there we go. Oh, let's get to slide. Wonder if this is what normal people do, if they present in Canva or they just. Okay, so this is my second slide. Our promise is simple. I do believe in this masterclass, you will be able to get so much knowledge and being able to turn from invisible to invaluable by uncovering the unique value and showing companies why they need you. I think this is literally the impetus of what made me start the Phoenix, which is like getting off an interview and being like, you have no idea what I'm capable of. And it's the worst feeling. And so that's why I created this. I'm excited for you all to get some tips on how to do this. And this is not your typical job search strategy. It's really a full transformation. So I tried to pack as much of that as I could in a week. All right. Okay. So general housekeeping, try not to multitask during all of this. I'm going to try and keep it interactive. It's going to go really fast. I think a lot of times for master classes, they can go really slow and like draw it out and just give a little bit of value. I'm going to try and give you a ton of value. And I'm a fast talker. That's what it's like working with me. You might have to go back and watch this replay, but that's just the way that I work. So hang on, it's going to be fast. So for replays, there are going to be replays. There's 3 ways to access. I will give a text, an email, and then there'll be LinkedIn replays since we're on live stream, as well as YouTube. And there's going to be a website with all the replays that'll be available till next Tuesday. And get your workbook. Can everyone tell me in the chat, did you get your workbook? And do you need Claire, your concierge, to add it to the chat? Got it. Cool. Okay, so what I did is I really wanted to make an AI companion for this, and I might work on it tonight. So for now, it's a workbook, which I think workbooks are out, AI is in. So like, why have to deal with these really hard questions on your own? Why not have an AI companion help you along the way? I highly encourage all of you to open up AI during this class to ask questions. So, and you'll learn that I'm very pro AI. So the content will be moved next Tuesday. And then if you find value in this, invite your network. Okay. Here's the next piece. So connect with me, find me on LinkedIn. Most of you are already connected with me, but if you're not, go find me. If you're watching on another platform, go ahead and register because that's where you're going to get all the replays and all the information and bonuses and everything else. So if you want to restream, you can watch it on YouTube, and I'll also send you that email. If you want to sign up for text messages, just text career. You can submit your homework, anything, ask questions, all to this number. So that's great. Now, this is really exciting. There's going to be freebies for the course. And so let me just make sure there's no one else I have to admit. I should have set up Claire, our concierge, as the admin on my Zoom, but I did not. Tomorrow will be better. So freebies, there's going to be $2,000 of prizes this week. So the first is engage live and win my top business book. So every day I'll be giving away my top business book. I saw this for someone that had a book, and I was thinking like, I can't do this. I don't have a book. And I was like, but I have books I like. So these books are awesome. And so engage live. When I ask questions, drop it in the chat. And that's how you'll win a book a day. And then do your homework. Every day there's going to be homework. And whoever does the most homework is going to be selected for a live LinkedIn audit on Friday. So Friday is a live LinkedIn audit. I'm going to like give you an overview of what it's like for a LinkedIn profile. And then share on social, tag me, and win a 50% scholarship. So $1,500 off the Phoenix formula if you're sharing online. Actually, like almost half of the people who got added to this class are literally from social media and sharing. So like this is huge in how I grow my business. So if you like it, share. And you'll get a chance to win that scholarship. Cool. Let's move on. So you're in the right place if you've been laid off in tech, if you're stuck in your job search, if you feel qualified, but you're blocked by application filters and black holes, and you know it takes more than skills to stand out. So this is like a really hard thing to sit with, but like it does take more than skills to stand out. I know all of you are uniquely qualified, and there's more that you need to do to be able to stand out. And so no matter your motivation, we are here to support you, and I'm really excited for this week. All right, here's a little bit about me. So I have 2x my salary multiple times. I've worked really, really, really hard in my career. I studied nonprofit management, was a very low salary to start at. And so I've worked really hard and landed in tech, and most recently led the future of work at VMware. So I figured it out, so to speak. I remember when I landed my first tech job, I bought a Le Creuset, the first thing I bought, because I really wanted a Dutch oven. It's kind of silly, but it was like, okay, a $400 cooking utensil, like I'll get that. So I got hired through LinkedIn Easy Apply, so I've been able to create profiles that attract. I've actually worked with professional resume writers and career coaches the last 15 years. That's what's helped me culminate all of this. I was laid off at 34 weeks pregnant last year. That was really tough, really, really tough. If you've seen me post on it. Last year I was working with a career coach and I was reading this book called Worthy, and go ahead and write down these book recommendations. Claire can also put them in the chat, but Worthy is awesome. And essentially it asked me, what could I do if I couldn't fail? And I say it asked me, but like it asked me because I'm using AI as a book companion for all of these. So when books are asking me these questions, I'm going in AI and saying, hey, can you help me figure this out? And then I'm getting all that data on myself. And so for me, it was to create my own business. So I realized like these big interviews I landed my dream company interview. I don't say dream job. So if you see dream job, it's because I forgot to edit it. I think there's trade-offs in every job. But it was to start my own business, and you'll hear what I did before this. And so I created the Phoenix Formula. I built a business while raising 3 kids, 3 and under. My life is wild. With kid care, I probably work like 90 hours a week, but it's like better than I ever could have imagined. So that's a little bit about me. I'm going to tell you a little bit more before we get started. So this is what makes me different. I teach what I've done and it works. My background's in Six Sigma. And so like I like Six Sigma this and figured it out. I likely relate to you because I was laid off in tech. I felt really unseen in my job search. I've applied to 300 plus jobs. I thought about applying for lower level positions. At some point in my job search, I even was like, should I get a job at Starbucks just while I'm like trying to figure this out? So like I've been in the emotional roller coaster all of you are in, and I will tell you it's nice to be on the other side, and you will be too. But I've wondered if I needed to settle and how long it will take and how long it will last. I would say like that was just like the spinning thing in my head. How long is this going to take? How long am I going to be in this position for? A couple other things that make me different. I'm a twin. I think faster than I can type. Literally, someone asked the other day, I don't think you're allowed to ask this, is she dyslexic? My typing is just crazy. You'll probably notice that because at some point we'll probably do some live AI and you'll see that I mistype just about everything. I'm direct, I'm hyper driven and motivated. I was a rower and a triathlete. I love problem solving. So this is like my problem to solve with the Phoenix Formula, and it's been amazing. My strength finders are achiever, activator, responsibility, and relator. I think responsibility is huge, particularly because there's a lot of mistrust in online businesses, and I've experienced that from the things that I bought, and like my sense of responsibility is, I would say, unmatched in terms of delivering for my clients. I love helping people achieve their potential and do their best work. This is what got me into Six Sigma, process improvement, internal consulting, future of work, all those things, because at the end of the day, that's the crux of it. My life is more important to me than work, but I want to like my work. And then being a mom is better and harder than I ever could have imagined. So that's a little bit about me. What makes me different and this different? We talked a little bit about this, but frameworks with outcomes. So I really believe in outcome. I told you I started in nonprofit management, but what this means is that and at one point I got super discouraged because I read this book called Toxic Charity. I think it was the book, but essentially it's that we have all of these social problems and we've all this money we're putting into nonprofit, but the social problems aren't changing. And so like, it's got me really into outcomes, right? Like what are the activities you're doing and is it producing the outcomes you want? And so that's really where it started. But I am an AI expert at this point. I probably trained 50 agents. I'm trained in design thinking. I love user-centered design. I think this is like between Six Sigma and design thinking to solve problems is amazing. I use Six Sigma on this job search. I mentioned that. I have an MBA and I'm an OKR coach. This is really interesting as you look at like business acumen, applying this to the job search, as well as OKR coaching for positioning. I believe in value revelation versus being told. I think a lot of the coaching process is like, oh, you are this, right? Like trying to change your mindset in what you are or what you could be. And I think a big piece of the Phoenix Formula is really like doing the deep dive yourself and having a reflection of AI telling you what that is, based on feeling like you're told. Because I think the big thing that we're trying to work on today, my biggest goal for you all is to understand we need to do something different. Solution-based positioning. I help people change how they see themselves. So that's what this is like, very, very different than like resume writing or traditional coaching. And I think traditional coaching can help you with this too, but this is a framework. I love the future of work. A lot of that is about upskilling. So through all of this, you'll hear from some of my clients later in the week, but there's a big upskilling component here, and just AI. And then a holistic approach. Like I really believe that there's a lot of aspects to the job search beyond LinkedIn and a resume. And so I cover them all. And then on demand and empowerment. So what I'm building and what the Phoenix formula is on demand. So it's at your fingertips. It's when you want it, and empowerment. Okay. So let's see here. Those were long intro slides. You've met Claire by now. There's an email, message her for anything you need, any questions you have. You'll be sending her your homework. I am also your concierge. Welcome to this masterclass. So if you haven't figured it out already, the purpose is to transform your job search approach in today's AI-driven market and to move from an overlooked applicant to an in-demand problem solver. It's going to be 6 days of actionable strategies, exercises, and transformation. And the outcome I want for you is not just any job, but the right job. I know all of you want jobs, but like the right job on your terms. So what do you actually want? And like, I hope at the end of this, you're able to find that space, because I kind of feel like it's a luxury outside of scarcity mindset to think about what you actually want. Okay, so today's going to be understanding the value gap, kind of the current state of the market, and we have an awesome guest speaker. Day 2 is your career deep dive. So this is, we're going to go into your career, try and understand what makes you uniquely exceptional. Day 3 is value positioning. This is where we're going to really hone in on how to position yourself as the right person for these jobs and niching down on a certain job. Day 4 is quantifying your impact. This is the hardest part, I think. So don't miss this. And then day 5 is your value story and LinkedIn audit. And so day 6 is creating content that attracts. That's a bonus session. And then day 7 is a live Q&A. Okay. So I'm going to open it up. Can you imagine, what would it feel like to wake up every day knowing you have what it takes to land the job you want? Tell me how you'd feel in the chat. If you had your job search right now and you knew that you were going to land the job that you wanted, and it's there for you, waiting. Empowered, secure, confident, calm. Yeah. The Worthy book talked a lot about that too, because it's like, okay, do I need to frantically put my daughter in daycare at 7 weeks old? Or like, if I knew I was going to land the job that I wanted, could I have taken 3 months and enjoyed the time with my baby? Like, I think this is huge. Stress-free, motivated, relieved, awesome. So can you imagine transforming your professional identity so completely that you never have to worry about being overlooked again? So like, the big thing about this is that once you master this, it's not just a one-time thing. This isn't just to get this one job. This should be transformational for you, even what you learned this week, that you have it figured out. Next time you're laid off, and I say that lightly, but like the reality is the companies don't have as much loyalty. Gig work is increasing over FTE work. So like all of this is changing rapidly, and like there is going to be AI displacement. So we're going to have to constantly think about where we add the most value in the market, I think. And so this is that evergreen solution for you. And so this is the agenda for today. We'll do this all pretty quickly, and then we're going to have Alonzo on for 30 minutes. And I think that's the best person to hear from today. But a job on your terms, the current state of the market, 5 major market shifts, the application black hole, the dual strategy, and homework. So that's day 1. Homework is in your workbook. Okay. And any questions that you have, go ahead and put them in the chat. Claire will consolidate them so that we have them for our Q&A day. And I'll see what I can get to at night too. Okay, so a job on your terms. Most people settle for any job that will take them, roles that underutilize their skills, positions with compensation below their worth, and work environments that drain their energy. I'm sure you all have interviewed, if you've been interviewing, for one job that has one of these things. And I understand that there needs to be trade-offs, but I think understanding what we want and knowing that we could get more is a big piece of today. And what you deserve, like work that energizes you and challenges you. That doesn't mean there's not going to be work politics or stress. Compensation that reflects your true value. There's this thing of thoughts, beliefs, feelings, and actions. I don't know if you've seen this. And so thoughts, beliefs, feelings, and actions, you have to change how you believe in yourself if you want to be able to command the salary that you want. And I think this is huge for just how you see yourself. And that's what this process is going to help you with. And a role where you can make a meaningful impact. I think that's what we all want at the end of the day. We want to have a sense of contribution and a company culture that respects your talents. So this week, you're going to learn how to position yourself to command the job you want and not just accept the job that you can get. 5 major market shifts. So if there's a W, that means there's a workbook component. I tried to make this easier for you. So it's the AI versus AI battle, the unicorn candidate hunt, the referral and insider advantage, the experience paradox, and the value communication gap. So this is the AI versus AI battle. I don't think any of this is new for you, but there's been over 600,000 tech workers laid off since 2022. That's from layoffs.fyi. Companies process 2 to 3 more times applications per opening than 2021. You know, this was hard to find the statistic, although there's a lot of qualitative data for this, but it's true. Like we all know that it's easier to apply now, so there's more applications. We're seeing this on LinkedIn where it's like 500 at the end of the day. And so applicant tracking usage, 98% of Fortune 500 companies use this. The success rate is, this was my success rate, and I think on average the success rate, about 1 to 3% of pulled applications result in interviews. All right, I want to hear from the chat. Does anyone dispute this number? Are you getting a lot of interviews from your applications? Or do we think this number is real? Totally agree. 0 point, agree. Okay, cool. Okay, time to hire. Average job search is now taking 6+ months. It's taking a long time. My friends that were laid off that were like, I just want to take some time and then I'll start looking. They started looking. They're like, oh no, this is awful. So it's taking longer. And that's why we need to do something different. Market shift number 2 is the unicorn candidate hunt. I have a good friend of mine. He led people analytics at VMware, and there's this thing where tech is focused on increased profitability, which means it's decreased FTE budgets, which means they're having multiple roles in one. So like literally it's a unicorn. Employers want candidates who check all the boxes, not just most of them. And companies have dramatically reduced the willingness to train or develop talent. They're just like, if I can get someone with 20 years of experience that's done everything, like I'll take that, please, like 0 risk. In an employer's market, they can afford to be extremely, extremely selective. So you must strategically craft your experience to show that you meet these requirements, even if it means reframing your background. So that's where like we'll get into it. The reframe matters a lot. So we're going to hear from Alonzo later, but the market shift number 3, I think, is one of the biggest ones, which is that the fact that like the AI versus AI means that recruiters can actually trust what's coming in. Everyone's keyword matching. Everyone seems qualified. So they're like, what's real here? And so since they don't know what's real and they don't actually have good tools at their fingertips, they're trusting more referrals and they're going into direct sourcing to go onto LinkedIn and find people themselves, the real people, have the real skills based on the keywords. And so this is huge. And the impact of this, just your takeaway, is that networking isn't optional. It's absolutely essential. Digital applications without human connections rarely succeed. And I think we all kind of saw that and agree with that. Market shift number 4 is the experience paradox. So this is companies reject overqualified applicants, fearing that they'll leave quickly. So again, that's one check the box that you don't get if you seem overqualified. And I think a lot of people, when they feel this sense of rejection, and I did it too, where I'm like, do I really need to downgrade my role? Like maybe I should, maybe I'd get a job faster that way. This is actually counterintuitive and hurts your job search. So this is why it's really important to not do this, but the experience paradox does hurt you in this search. I've heard it directly from recruiters. It'll be interesting to hear from Alonzo on this, but middle management positions have decreased. We've seen some of those going out the door, and then career paths no longer follow predictable patterns. So Your fading confidence may be causing you to underapply yourself. Position your experiences strategically, neither underselling or overselling. You just want to check the box. The value communication gap. So companies focus more on how you can help them than experience lists. Hiring managers want evidence of direct business impact. So hiring managers are not spending time on job descriptions, but they are telling recruiters what they're looking for. Here's the key things I want. Here's the problems I'm having, blah, blah, blah. So this value communication gap is huge because those are the things that the recruiters are going to be looking for. The impact here is to transform your resume from a list of responsibilities to a compelling showcase of specific business impacts. You want someone to land, and you'll hear me say this multiple times, you want someone to land on your profile and quickly understand why you're fully qualified for the job. So the dual problem is the value gap and the search method. So the disconnect between your actual capabilities and how they're perceived by employers, if you just have a list of responsibilities on your LinkedIn. And then the search method, and I'm saying LinkedIn because I don't think very many people see your resume unless it's through a referral. So it's like really like the value gap is LinkedIn. And then the search method is the black hole effect. And applying alone, no matter how well you optimize, it won't be enough if you want to land a job quickly and a job that you want. All right. So signs your approach isn't working. This is in the workbook, so I want you to write down a couple of them, and this is going to be your homework for tonight. But high application numbers, low response rates, getting passed over for roles you're qualified for. So write this down if it's happened to you. Consistent rejection after initial screenings when you're like, oh, I didn't even pass the initial screening. I've heard that from a lot of people. Feedback that's vague or mentions better fit candidates. Feeling invisible despite your qualifications. Spending hours tweaking resumes with diminishing returns, and then relying primarily on online job boards. So write down if you're doing these things or if you're feeling these things. And I'd love to hear, did that resonate with people? Are these things happening? Put it in the chat. Yes, yes, it does. Cool. Okay. Recognizing job search burnout. So burnout is a big piece of this. And so I want you all to think about this, but essentially it is the exhaustion, feeling like you can't sleep, headaches, frustration, cynicism, anxiety checking, procrastinating your job search, feeling dread over it, rushing applications, avoiding networking, difficulty focusing, negative thought loops, feeling numb about it all. This is probably most of you. I would think, just based on what this job search does to us. And so I think a big thing that I want all of you to take away from today is there could be a different way to search, and that it doesn't have to be this way, and that this has a cost to your job search. The burnout does affect how we show up in everything that we do. And so why this approach is different is it's not just another resume rewrite. It's not generic career advice. It's not a quick fix that requires no effort. It requires a lot of effort to try and do your job search differently, and it feels better. It's a proven system based on real market insights and a methodology that's worked for people who have been laid off, and a process that puts you in control. So that's the key thing. Like, I think following a framework, controller's my number one saboteur. So getting control back of your career can feel really, really nice. Knowing that you can follow, if you do X, Y, Z, you will get A, is really nice. So this is the path to escaping the application black hole. It's high volume applications to strategic outreach and connections, resume tweaking to value driven positioning, competing with everyone where you're just not even in that channel anymore. Desperate applicant to confident problem solver, hoping to be chosen to strategically demonstrating value, moving from a generic candidate to a specialist with targeted expertise, and a resume submitter to a relationship builder. So like, this is a big thing at the bottom of this is when it's AI versus AI, everyone loses. Alonzo is going to talk to us about that today. Change the game entirely. And so the top question for the day is, this is in your workbook, but are you ready to stop doing what isn't working? Change management is a huge part of this and a huge part of everything that we do. And so this is a really important question to ask yourself. It will have a commitment, require a commitment to a new approach, willingness to invest time differently. So it's not necessarily more time, and courage to be strategically visible instead of anonymously applying. All right, so just an overview, Alonzo, I know we have you. I'm working to get us to your presentation. In case you're wondering what the Phoenix formula is, I just want to set it up for you. The first piece is rise from the ashes. So this is like really rebuilding yourself and your confidence. It has to be the first part of all of this because I think this job search can put a lot of people at rock bottom. And then reinvent yourself. So become the strategic solution companies need. You need space in your mind to get to reinvent yourself. You have to rebuild yourself first. And then soar to your potential, lead with authentic confidence and purpose. So once you've gone through some of these exercises, and even today, even this week, I hope you're going through some of these steps in a smaller way. And so Rise from the Ashes is a deep dive into your career, identifying your unique strengths and transform from being invisible to understanding your true worth. Reinvent yourself is going to be aligning your strengths with the market and compelling materials that showcase your unique value. And then soaring to your potential is engaging with decision makers, leading transformative interview conversations, and negotiating from a position of strength and clarity. Now, this is key. And this is like kind of the goal that we all want to be at, and that there is a way to get there. So for your homework, look in your workbook. And I know this was fast today. I'll pulse you before we hand it over to Alonzo, but track your job search activities from the past month. It's kind of hard because like you could have done an application and then you get an interview like 6 weeks later. But even for the year, if you have it, like number of applications submitted, number of networking conversations, number of referrals, and number of interviews. So the first calculation is your second one, which is the black hole ratio. Applications submitted to interviews received from those applications. And then calculate your network effectiveness, networking contacts to interviews secured. So like these are the two big, send these to your concierge. And this is really big. I think we had a prize for homework. Claire, do you remember what it was? Homework submitted is what? Homework submitted is the LinkedIn Live profile audit. So you'll get a live profile audit and I will review it for you. Send it to your concierge, send it to this text message, we will get it. Tomorrow, we're going to be talking about the experience transcript. So the deep dive into your experience to find what makes you uniquely exceptional and mining your achievements. So now I'm going to turn it over to Alonzo Simmons. Before I introduce him, I just want to understand how everyone is feeling right now. So put in the chat, how are you feeling about all of this? Overwhelmed is a fair thing. I think some people are overwhelmed when they talk to me because I talk so fast, but this will sink in. Curious, excited, engaged, looking forward to the week. Cool. Looking forward to it. Lots of good info. Cool. Okay, awesome. I ain't here overwhelmed, but if you're overwhelmed, again, it's okay. I talk fast. So Alonzo, I'm so happy to have him on today. Alonzo and I met. He worked at VMware as a recruiter, and he is an ex-Amazon recruiter, and we chatted a lot about how much the job search is broken. That was the impetus of me starting the Phoenix formula. And for him, he was a recruiter and is a recruiter and really struggled to understand which applicants are the real deal that fit the requirements, that meet what the hiring managers are looking for. And so it was so tough for him that his entrepreneurial spirit, he decided to create something to make it better. And so he's actually building his own AI model that he will and platform sell back to tech companies to actually filter out applicants better. And so like we're going to get to hear directly from him how he thinks about filtering people out and in. And so these questions are going to be really interesting for him to cover. And so I will turn it over to Alonzo. If you have questions for Alonzo, if we have time at the end, he will be taking live Q&A that I will facilitate. And so pop them in the chat now if you have questions for Alonzo. All right, Alonzo, I hope I did that intro justice. Thanks for being here.
Yeah.
And let me make sure you're not muted.
Yeah, can you hear me? Can everyone
Yes,
hear me?
you can.
Oh,
Um,
thank you. Thank you so much for just having me here. And that was a great intro. Could not have done it better myself. Yeah, but no, I caught what you were saying like when I jumped in here, and I mean it's really powerful. Just the job search. It is exhausting. It can mentally affect how we show up. And the quote you had, AI versus AI, no one wins in that scenario. I really like that one. I'm gonna have to like use that and like give you credit for that one, but
yeah,
I
take
really
it.
I really like that one, and it does make an impact. But yeah, I'm more than happy to go through some of the questions that you mentioned, and then of course, if anyone has any specific questions, that I can provide any value for, I'd love to be able to answer some specific questions if they come from the chat.
Thanks, Alonzo. Thanks for being here.
Yeah. So we wanted to start with AI filters and how it filters candidates. So I'll try not to go too fast in case there are questions about how this works. So, normally what I see, and this is I've been recruiting now we're getting close to 20 years of recruitment. Of course, I mean, I've recruited in tech, I've recruited in other roles, I've led recruitment teams, I've built strategies for organizations as a consultant and things like that. And so I take a look at a lot of systems. Right now, I will say with AI, most recruitment teams um, are not using AI to its full capability. There's some, like if you look at Indeed or ZipRecruiter, or there's some other tools that we may use that will help with. It's more so keyword matching to resumes, and I think most of you guys may be kind of familiar with that. If you are, what was it? No, no, I'm not sharing. I'm not sharing anything, Manuel. I'm just speaking. Yeah. So, with the tools, the keyword matching, I think is a good place for us to kind of think about to get started. Um, Most people probably understand, hey, you could go to what, Chat GPT, you could throw in a resume, any resume, yours or any resume, you could throw in a job description, you can ask it to match the key terms for you. And you could get you can get some type of a resume that will match the term. So, that's kind of the entry level for AI. But where we need to get to is more semantic AI. So it's looking at the keywords, but it's more so matching um, how recruiters will review a resume. So, for example, keyword matching, and I bring this up because it's going to be interesting, guys. Is like when I'm reviewing resumes now, and I've talked to other recruiters about it. We're starting to get an idea of like who's using AI to create their resume. Of course, we can't 100% prove it or anything. It's not a bad thing. I don't want you to walk away saying not to use it, but we can start to kind of get an idea with the formatting, um, the metrics. So all these are key points, but it's such an organized way that it's. And sometimes, if especially in competitive fields, if you don't get a little creative with your resume, it will look like someone else's resume because, say, ChatGPT, for example, is building that resume. So we start to see similarities. And I know the goal is, to stand out, right? So you would want your resume to stand out somewhat. So I'll just kind of think about that, when you are creating it. But yeah, to answer your question, I don't want to like I love recruiting, I love AI, so I don't want to get off on tangents. So please jump in and stop me if I do. But the biggest impact I just see with AI filters is the keyword matching. It's also going to kind of match for like job description, job title. So that's going to be very important as well. And majority of the time, we're going to see the AI within tools like if you're applying on Indeed or some other larger job platform. If you apply directly into a company's ATS system, more times than not, at this particular point, the recruiters are going to read that resume themselves, and they're going to skim it most likely, less than 10 seconds, if that. They're going to take a look at it. But most recruiters I talk to nowadays, they're not, even if their ATS system has the ability to do keyword matching, which a lot of them will, um, the keyword matching isn't 100% reliable. So a lot of times recruiters still need to review that. And why I say it's not reliable is that someone could not have the right experience, or they could have not enough experience or things like that, but they could push enough keywords into their resume to where that particular AI program will acknowledge them as like a top applicant. But when a recruiter reviews it, they're like, hey, this person either doesn't have enough experience, or the keywords are matching, but it's not within the context that we needed for this particular role. So a lot of times the recruiter has to go back and kind of look at it anyway. So because of that, a lot of recruiters are still reviewing resumes and not just relying on the AI that's built into their applicant tracking system. But all that could change. So this is being recorded was April the 7th. So AI is moving so fast. So I don't know, by 2 weeks from now, this could be a different story. But that's what I'm saying at the moment.
Alonzo, I have a follow-up question for you on that. Gosh, I have baby brain. I forgot it. Oh, job descriptions. Um, job titles. So for job titles, you said that's something that they look for. Um is it finding the exact same job title, like because you just want to find people who have done that job before?
Yeah, yeah, and I think, yes, to answer your question, yes, and I think that's kind of the disadvantage right now with a lot of the AI tools. A human or a recruiter could look at a job description, I'm sorry, job title, and understand, hey, for said, job description, there may be 15 different job titles that could work very well for this job description. Just because you start to recruit in the field, different companies are using different job titles. Now, when it comes to AI, if it's not programmed properly within the system, within the prompting and things like that, more times than not, it will not recognize any other job titles other than the one that's coming from the job description, which is why, it is an advantage if you are looking at when you're creating your resume at this point, if your job titles are going to match the actual job title of the job description. And it's the same thing with LinkedIn. So obviously, I have a LinkedIn recruiter seat. So a lot of times when I help people, we're trying to look at the LinkedIn algorithm and how do you show up higher within the search. So if you're a program manager, for example, and you're I'm in Dallas, Texas, so I'll just use Dallas, and you're based out of Dallas. Okay, when I go in as a recruiter and I type in program manager with certain skill sets in Dallas, you would like to see yourself on the first page so in the recruiter seat, normally we'll see 25 profiles at a time. So you can think of it the same way as like a Google search where you're saying, you search your favorite restaurant, I want Thai this weekend. So what's going to show up on the front page? So you're trying to get to the front page if you can to get more attention on your profile to give yourself a better opportunity to be contacted. So it's the same thing with the LinkedIn algorithms. The LinkedIn is looking at a direct match for job titles, um, if at all possible.
Okay, that's helpful. Now, one follow-on to this, because I think job titles are big here, is I believe job titles should be a representation of what you did. Now, not in terms of hierarchy, like you can't make yourself a VP if you weren't a VP, right? But like in terms of the role of what you did, maybe you were a program manager, but all of your work was transformational. So you were a transformation program manager, that kind of thing, to make it indicative of the work that you did. Now, I'm hearing from some people, and Donna put this in the chat too, that they're afraid to change their title for what someone gave them when they started a job, when their job changed a lot after they were started. They're afraid that there's going to be a check and maybe that's not their exact, they were actually a program manager analyst. I don't know. So what's your take on that?
Yeah. So that is definitely. I also hear those same concerns. I think a lot of people have those concerns. Um, so from a recruitment standpoint, it benefits the recruiter. It benefits when you want to interact with the recruiter. It's to your benefit to be more descriptive of what you actually did in universal terms. By universal, I just mean terms that the majority of your industry would recognize it. If that means you need to change your job title on your LinkedIn or your resume, you could do that. I don't see any problem with that. I would do that for myself. I would even do that. but I would make sure that it all match. Whatever I have on my resume, make sure it match what's on my LinkedIn, or vice versa. Um, if I'm in an industry where that could be a problem, certain industries are they're a little more particular about those things. What I would do is I would list maybe the job title that was given to me in my role, and then in parentheses I would put what I view the job title to be, or like you said, match more what my skill in that role. So that way, match. It's a universal language, so everything match, and it'll bring clarity for recruiters, managers, and others that are taking a look at my resume. But your resume is your sales tool, so is your LinkedIn. It's not an official document. Now, when you get to background check and you fill out another form for background check, now at that point, you definitely want to list the job title from from the company that they've given to you, because that could be checked as far as the background check.
Okay, thank you. All right, I think that covers our first two. What really happens when recruiters review resumes? What makes a LinkedIn profile stand out to recruiters?
Yeah. I think the biggest thing, we get quite a few questions in the chat. I can't wait to get to some of those. That should be
Yeah,
good.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, no, LinkedIn is interesting. There's always a lot of suggestions on LinkedIn. You can spend a lot of time optimizing LinkedIn, and I do suggest, to take LinkedIn seriously and optimize it. But yeah, as far as what stands out, of course, your profile picture, that's easy. The banner behind your photo, that can be used as real estate, to express your either your interest, your niche that you're in, um, or your role or profession. So all that's important. You just want to make sure that all of every section in the LinkedIn is definitely filled out. You want to make sure that even recommendation section. A lot of people have not used recommendations to the fullest, but I've had plenty of managers, say to me, "Yeah, when I checked out the LinkedIn page for this individual that you sent over to me to interview, I did take a look at their recommendations, and they had some really strong recommendations." And every now and then, if you're lucky, who you're being recommended by, there may be a link between them and either the recruiters, the interviewers. Even if they don't know them personally, they may know the company that person represented and things like that. So the recommendations section is important. But when it gets to your profile and where you're going to kind of have your bio section, it's just very important that you really talk about results. If you can emphasize promotions. So promotions is very important because it shows up the progress of your career. And if you can showcase that other people, be it recent or in the past, they really look to you as someone that will thrive in this position, and they want to promote you. You've been promoted multiple times and that sort of thing. It's very important to call that out. What I do see is a lot of people may just take their most recent, say they've been with a company for 5 years and promoted twice or two or three times, they'll just only have their most recent job title, which is fine because it's usually a higher level job title that you want to show. But you also need to capture in there that you've been promoted multiple times, because that will track very well with leaders, with recruiters, and everyone that takes a look at it. Just kind of shows your ambition and the fact that you are growing. Everything on your LinkedIn needs to just be easy to read, easy to understand, and the more metric you can use to put context what you're doing, the better. And the last thing I'll say, especially in this market, and I heard you mention it being specialized, niching down will be to your advantage, even if you're going to pivot into a new industry or what have you. Um, yeah, niching into an industry, meaning that you understand what's happening in that industry, you understand the trends right now in the industry, you understand if there's going, hey, if tariffs are impacting the industry, you're aware of it, kind of thing, like when, where, why, how. Um, being being a part of an industry right now is very important to stand out with the recruiters and also with the managers, especially as they interview you. But you can also capture some of that onto your LinkedIn page.
Thank you. Thank you. That's awesome. Okay, we have about 10 minutes left. Let's get to these last two questions. We'll probably have one or two Q&As, and then we'll wrap with everyone telling what your number one takeaway was from the session. Um, so, what are the top mistakes that keep great candidates from getting interviews?
Yeah, I would say, if you're a great candidate, a lot of people are great candidates, but you need to be like a great fit for that particular role. So the more you understand that particular position, that particular company, that particular industry would be the best. So what I normally see is that really strong candidates, but their LinkedIn is just not showcasing themselves to that particular niche and to that particular role the best that it can. So sometimes they're being overlooked. Um, Once we get to like an interview process or interacting with recruiters, I would say that's showing up as knowledgeable as possible. I know that sounds like a blanket statement, but understanding what that company may be going through right now could really help. Like for example, if you're with a company, I even think we were at VMware. This was the case where at VMware they were moving towards away from legacy into like solution sales and that sort of thing. Yeah, like so. If you are interviewing for a company and you can understand, like right now, this company is going through a transition, a different model, a different type of sales, a different type of engineering, that sort of thing, you would want to position yourself that you are aware of that and you have that type of experience in your background, which gets very excuse me, tricky sometimes because job descriptions may not mention that. So like if you're matching your resume only to a job description, I would say most when I meet with managers and have intake calls with them, 85 to 90% of what they want is in the job description, but that last 10 to 15% is not necessarily in the job description. So I know that's kind of like not fair, but if you can get a better idea of what's going on with that company, then some of what you can put into your resume would cover that 10 to 15% that's not even in the job description, and you would stand out tremendously. I just want to throw that in there because I think that could help someone. But that kind of level of research will help in the conversation with recruiters on your LinkedIn page and also when actually meeting with managers.
Thank you. I'll do one tidbit on that, which is how I think about networking. And we'll talk a little bit about this week, but like I think for a lot of people, networking feels super icky, like you need something from someone. Networking can be non-icky. It can be data gathering. It can be understanding what this company is trying to tackle. Is it exciting to you? I think I've mentioned before, I did an informational at Intel and I was like, this place is a shit show. They're doing rolling layoffs. Like they're in a transformation, but a little too much for my taste, right? So like you need to start to understand where companies are at from your networking, from your informationals, so that when you go into these interviews, you're A, excited, and B, know what they're up against and how you can uniquely help them. Okay, perfect. So last question for you before we open it up. Isn't there enough AI in this process? Why are
Yeah.
you using AI for recruiters?
Yeah, there's a lot of AI, just like saying like there's too many apps in the app store, and there probably is, right? But with me having a recruitment background, I'm really someone where my heart goes out to candidates and all that. The tool we have is more empathetic to candidates' experience. So it is a productivity tool to help recruiters. It will definitely read through, tons of resumes. It can help to right now, if I could run 100 resumes in less than 7 seconds, which a recruiter, they're spending 7 seconds on one resume and they're probably not reading it thoroughly, which is what's putting a lot of us at a disadvantage as candidates is they're not reading on the bullet points. They're looking at, oh, what are you an industry match? Are you a job title match? Do you have some tools, software or just whatever tools that we may use? And they're not seeing some of that in the initial just jump out from the resume. They're pushing you into the other category and not moving forward. My tool here will review all of that thoroughly. And also, when I was talking about keyword matching, so we're more in advanced keyword matching. So if your resume doesn't have all the keywords, but we can still detect that you'd be a good fit, you can still get a good score, a high score. So it will help candidates that will pivot. It can look for transferable skills and not just what's showing up on the resume. And the other thing it can do with the speed of it all is like, I know we all hate when we see a job post and we found out about it like 2 hours after it posts, and we're like, okay, there's probably already 200 applicants on the position already. Well, for this, it gives, if you're number 98 applicant, you still have a good opportunity because it's going to review all 100 resumes or however many resumes there are. It'll review them all and rank them. Right now, what most recruiters are doing, if they have 100 resumes in a queue, they're working just to get towards 6 or 7 like good resumes, and then they're going to pause, take those 6 or 7, have a screen interview or send it to the hiring manager, but they're not actually going to review every resume. So sometimes when you're not getting a response or you're getting denied, rejected, you may not even it may not even been reviewed in the first place. So we definitely want to solve that problem, and get everyone an opportunity. So those are a couple things that it will do, to help with some of this equity in the interview process and give everyone a better opportunity, and help recruiters have more time to speak with candidates, understand your story. When they do take a look at resumes, they can more thoroughly review resumes instead of having to skim through hundreds of resumes in a day and not give it their full attention.
Cool. Sounds like it's really going to augment the process and be better for candidates.
Yes, it will give everyone an opportunity. If you are a fit for the
Mhm.
position, you'll give you opportunity for them to your resume to be read. Right now, you could be a perfect fit, but if you're late to the party, it may not even be reviewed, to be honest.
Yeah. I know. I've been seeing the hacks to see the job posted within the last hour on LinkedIn.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I'll have to share that with you guys. Okay, so one question I will take from the chat, and hopefully, Alonzo, if you're okay, I can send you some of these questions and we can get some answers out later.
Yeah, you can send them to me. Also, I do have 15 minutes after this if you want to
Okay.
go over
Okay.
that.
Cool. Um, so the one question I wanted to tee up for you, which is, I found it. Hold on. Um, when someone's messaging you, what do you think about candidate outreach on LinkedIn messages?
Hmm. Yeah. So I do. I mean, I prefer someone to reach out to me on LinkedIn, especially if they've already applied for the position. The key with that, when they reach out to me, I just need them to know specifically like the job title that they've already applied for. Maybe they can help me out with why they would be a good fit for that position when they reach out to me as well. Sometimes I'll have folks reach out to me and they're just asking me in general, like, can I help them find a position at the company or something like that? And it would take me, I just wouldn't have enough time to look through all of the positions we have and match them to a position. But yeah, if you reach out, hey, I've already applied to this position, or this is a position that I'd be interested in, and this is why I'm a fit. That's awesome. And then also the second thing I'll say with recruiters, if you can, this could even work with managers. If you can reach out to them on something non-recruiting related or non-position related that they've done, that helps out as well. Like if you see that a recruiter, they just filled a position or they posted something else that they've done recently and they're proud of, that's on their LinkedIn page. If you message them and start the conversation about something like that, more likely they will respond and engage with you. So that could help as well.
That's awesome. Okay, well, I know we're at time. I would love to take you up on your 15 minutes to answer the rest of these questions. For those of you that need to drop, please go ahead and put in the chat what your number one takeaway was from today. I would love to hear from you all. Okay. All right, let's tee it up. You ready? Okay, so all righty. A lot of times when you apply through LinkedIn or Indeed, it takes me to the company website to apply. Does that still track it through LinkedIn, or is it better to go direct?
Yeah. I would always say if you can apply directly to the company's website, do that. Yes, some companies will take you. It won't allow you to apply on Indeed or LinkedIn. It will take you directly to the site, but just if it's allowing you to apply to LinkedIn first or Indeed first, I wouldn't do that. I would just go directly to their website and apply. It will get you into the queue a whole lot faster for your to take a look at it. And sometimes with the LinkedIn connections, it works. I'm not going to say it doesn't work, but sometimes the resumes come through in batches, versus individual, and there could be a lag time as well.
Okay, that is huge. Um, can you talk about the intricacies of job titles and going more specific versus staying broad? So enterprise companies have different titles, salary bands. Job titles seem difficult to match. So do you go specific? Do you go, one of the things I'm teaching people is to niche down and to not change, like, because you only can have one LinkedIn profile, right? So like it needs to
Mhm.
be like if you're niche down, and you have maybe it doesn't specifically match, but talk a little bit about that a little bit more.
Yeah, I would go as specific as possible. I think where we're at right now is that applying to jobs as a numbers game isn't to your benefit. You want, like, the job that's meant for you is the one that you will get. So you need, when it all the stars do align, you need for the recruiters, the manager, everyone involved to say, like, yes, this person is definitely what we've been looking for. So if you have a niche job title, yeah, it's true. There may be some jobs that will not take a look at that because it's niche down, but for the ones that are specifically looking for that niche, you will go to the top of the list for their applicants, and that will give you a better opportunity to land a position.
Okay, thanks, Alonzo. Okay, this is on AI generated resumes, which I
Mhm.
love the word AI and resume together because
Mm,
it means something so different based on how you
mhm,
prompt, right?
mhm.
AI is literally just trying to predict the next letter and the next word
Mhm.
based on all the data out there. So
Yes.
based on that, if it's using all the data out there, it can make you really generic because it's making you all the data out there. And
Mhm,
so
mhm,
I think how you generate an AI resume matters a lot.
mhm,
Because I actually think AI is better at resumes at this point, but that's like through very specific prompting and using your experience and measurement and all of
mhm.
that. Um, but the question is, when you see AI generated resumes that are similar to other candidates, do you think this is when candidates are only using the job description and asking Chat GPT to create the resume? Or comparatively, if a candidate took an already tailored resume and asked Chat GPT to modify it for keywords, would it present the same situation?
Now that's interesting. That is really interesting. Okay. The first example for sure, that's going to be generic. Job description, resume, create me a resume. So yes, that we're going to spot that. Now, if you take a tailored resume already, I would say that'd be a better way to do that. But it still depends on what you're saying in the prompting, because you could start with a tailored resume that's really good, or at least that stands out, I should say. And then if you allow for AI, it could kind of reverse some of what you've done. If you're just looking for formatting, it can do that. If you're asking it, hey, keep the metrics I have, keep the story that I'm telling. The biggest thing the biggest gap I see in the generated resumes, honestly, is, like, a lot of times it doesn't tell a complete story. It's more of metrics, goals, results. So the formatting is good, but I can't get a really good idea of what story are you trying to tell with your resume? How is your career going? Where's your growth? Where's your interest? Where's your strengths? Where's your passions? How many times you've been promoted, like that sort of thing is kind of what is missing overall. So as long as your tailor resume, when you throw it into ChatGPT, you don't remove some of those elements from it, it should be fine. But if you're removing those elements, like the story element of your resume, then I would suggest to have caution when you do it.
That's great. Now, it makes me, this isn't in the chat, it's my question, but I love a skill-based resume because I think this is silver plattering it for recruiters, right? You can see the job description. They do that. Oh, they do that. They do that. However, you can't see the promotion as well.
Mhm.
What would you prioritize?
Mm. Yeah, that's a good question. We can't do both. If we can't do both, then I would go with the skills. You got to match. I mean, you have to whatever's in that preferred section on the resume and what they're really looking for. You got to showcase you can solve whatever business challenges they're having at this moment of time. You have to be able to do that. So I would prioritize that, but I would just say like as competitive some of the job search are right now and the amount of resumes recruiters are receiving, you may have to figure out a way to implement both into your resume.
Okay. Okay. That's good. That's good.
Mm.
Um, okay. So resume formatting, is there a format?
Mm. Yeah, formatting is one of the things a lot of people get hung up on, and I think is too there's just too much emphasis put on it. I mean, basic format is fine. Ugly resumes get interviews every single day. There's someone right now who's going to submit an ugly looking formatting resume, and it's going to be just fine. Now, what you can't have mistakes. Grammar mistakes, punctuation missing. Like you can't have those things. But just as far as you don't need your picture on your resume. You don't need graphs. You don't need charts. The only caveat I will say is that if you're in a niche where those sorts of things are being viewed as part of your interview process, then you do want those things. Like there's some roles I've recruited for in the marketing departments and things like that where we do take a look at formatting, spacing. Like we want to see some creativity in your resume. It kind of showcase how you kind of think about organizing information, so but for the rest of us who are not in those kind of niche areas, the more basic your format, clear, easy to read, huge, your name at the top, there's really big, years of experience, really big, we can see that, job titles really big, just but nothing fancy.
Okay. Okay. That's helpful. Yeah. I think there's a lot of over rotation on formatting, and my OCD brain loves a pretty format.
Mm,
You know,
okay, well, go for
gotta
it.
have some consistency. Um, so, all right. We talked about LinkedIn messages. How would you recommend showing promotions if it's not obvious by job title? Is it just the fact that like chronologically you've seen them go up? Is that enough?
Mm. Yeah, that's good. Some resumes I've seen will have a summary section at the top of our resume where we'll list some highlights, if you will, of our career. So it's more sort of summarizing our career versus job titles and where we're at with companies. So if you do have a section on your resume where you're more so summarizing your career, that would be a great place to put to say, hey, I've been promoted 5 times in 8 years, or something like that, where you could call that out. Uh, if you're going to call it out within a specific company, you can do that as well. If you have your bullet points and you say, just have a bullet point that says, "Hey, I've been promoted multiple times." Um, that would be a good place you can place it as well.
Okay, that's good. So the next one is on posts, and I have a take on this when I just go to people's profiles. But LinkedIn posts, and this is one of the reasons I decided to create a community. You're a part of community too. I
Mhm.
created a community for I'm calling it the Beyond the Layoff, Rise Together, as a place where people can come together and talk about their layoff and what's happening. So they're not doing it on their
Mm.
LinkedIn profile in front of everyone.
Mhm.
Because when I go to people's profiles and I see all the shares of everyone that's been laid off and how hard their job search has been, it's telling me that story and not the story about what they're really good at and their thought leadership and why they're great for a role. And so I want to give people an outlet for, the reality of the search, and then, what they want to promote as like their selling stance. And so the next question, that's my take on it, but I would love to hear from you. Do recruiters look at your LinkedIn posts? I've been using posts to comment on current trends to help build my brand, but I'm not sure if it's effective.
Yeah, first of all, I do agree with you on the LinkedIn post. The venting piece of LinkedIn, I think it's good, just as far as community goes, but when it gets to the managers, the recruiters, and all that, it's not looked at as favorable. Sometimes I've even seen have managers question, if someone has open to work banner on their LinkedIn, they've questioned me on, hey, why are they open to work? And I don't think any of this is fair. I just want to say that, but I just want to give you guys some insight of what happens sometimes. So they're like, hey, why is this person open to work? How long have they been open to work? Um, is there a reason why that may be happening where they're having a harder time? So that sort of thing comes up. Uh, I'm with you. I would just position myself on LinkedIn as a thought leader. Focus on my
Mhm.
career and all that good stuff. Yeah,
Okay.
but yeah, to answer your question, the recruiters I don't think so much follow along with post. The post would be better for networking within maybe the hiring manager or someone within the company who, like, if you're a project manager, yeah, your post, if it's a project management related, then you'll probably get those who are in other PMs who are following along. It'll be better to start a networking conversation, but the recruiters themselves, they're not going to go. Most likely, they're not going to go and view, through your post and that sort of thing.
Okay, but they will see the other stuff. So if you can at least highlight the good stuff.
Hmm.
Okay, so it brings up a good question for me, which is um I lost it, so we'll move on. It's the worst. I feel like I'm 70. I feel I feel for the elderly.
I think it's
um
a couple more. Do recruiters take consideration how long you've been unemployed? Okay.
oh, there was a question. Um Gosh, it's gonna kill me. I'm gonna have to ask you later. Um So we talked about, oh, I know. So I was gonna make a comment on that piece on like how long they've been laid off and talking about the layoff because like actually the house I'm living in I got because someone backed out and then people thought something was wrong with it, right? And then I got it
Mhm,
for a better deal.
mhm,
So like I wonder if the same thing I kind of think people just have that like
mhm,
house back on the market effect
mhm,
of people in their job search, which is not, I mean, I'm making light of it. It is not funny, but I think it is just like a phenomenon on how human beings think. And so, what is your take on that and addressing the layoff, or like even people? I'm a part of a layoff in moms in tech because I was laid off pregnant, and so
mhm,
people talk about why they've been laid off or they're worried about their career break. My take on that is just like meet people with value and how you can help them with their business outcomes,
mhm.
and just do that. Like
Yeah,
as much as you can. Like you want that to be your story.
yeah,
Even if they ask you in an interview, you can answer it. But like just putting it out there to
yeah.
me feels like it's taking away from your value story. Like what's your
Mhm,
take on that?
mhm. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I agree with you. The biggest thing with layoffs, yes, some managers do take a look at that. Recruiters not so much, but when we're passing the resumes over, I mean, there's some recruiters that will take a look at that. But another thing that doesn't help sometimes is certain companies, they'll post like, "Hey, we laid off, but we laid off those who weren't performing and things like that." When a lot of times that's not true. Everyone's being affected by layoffs. But I will just say, yeah, you definitely want to, even if you're laid off, you want to continue the conversation regarding your industry and your position as if you have not been laid off. Obviously, you may not be talking about specific things at the company that you're at, but you can still have conversations. I know we've been throwing out project managers as an example. Like if I'm a project manager and I'm laid off, I can still talk about trends in project management. I can still talk about how I'm thinking about project management. I can still talk about how I would address certain projects and insights and tools. So you just want to like keep the conversation going, as you mentioning, and highlight your skill set, your strengths, your problems you've solved, and not the fact that that you've been laid off. And then at some point, if the layoff is going longer than anticipated, you may still want to use your skill set in some way, volunteer and use your skill set, take on side projects, partner with other people so you can stay active. And another tip I just want to throw out there before we ran out of time, if any of you are friends, like personally friends with a recruiter or something like that, one thing that they can really do, we've tested this in another group that I'm in to help you, is if you can ask them to just send you a message on LinkedIn and you respond, that does a lot for the LinkedIn algorithms to help you move up within the search. So for some reason, it just helps. So LinkedIn has a, yeah, go ahead.
Is that for a specific company or just the fact that recruiters like you?
Yeah. So there's in the algorithm for LinkedIn, they have a few factors they're looking at, and one of them is like, do you respond to recruiters, and are recruiters reaching out, like interacting with you? So if you have a recruiter who messages you and you message back, it's not reading the message that you're having, it's just looking at the interaction. And yeah, you can move up. I had a gentleman, he was like, guys, I mentioned to you, like there's 25 search on a
Mhm,
page for
mhm.
recruiters. Yeah, he was probably in the 70s something, so like third page. And we were able to have a couple, back and forth conversation. He had two recruiters. We did that with two recruiters, and he went from in the 70s to uh, number 17. And
Wow.
it took about 48 hours for that to happen. Just by and he went from, there's a metric we see on the back end with recruitment. It'll say like least likely to respond, and he shifted from least likely to respond to active, engaged, and more likely to respond. And so it pushed it pushed them up the algorithm
Okay.
basically.
Okay. And just to finish on that point, and then we'll end.
Hmm.
That's because LinkedIn Recruiter, you only have a certain amount of messages and things you can send. So you don't want to send
Mm.
like good after bad. Like you don't want to send things to people who aren't likely to respond. Is that right?
Hmm. Yeah. Some of us have larger package than others, like how many messages you can send.
Mhm.
Sometimes, like if you send a message and someone responds back, you go back to being whole again, so it's not like a takeaway if you have a certain recruiter seat. So yeah, if they were a friend of yours and they sent you a message and you responded back, it would grant them that message back again, so you wouldn't take from them. But yes, I think that's what LinkedIn is thinking, like, hey, this is a sought after person, so
Okay.
we should move them up.
Okay. That makes a lot of sense. Alonzo, thank you.
Yeah.
This was
Oh, it was a pleasure.
incredible.
This is a lot of fun. It was a
Oh, it
lot
was
of fun.
awesome. So everyone give thanks to Alonzo. This is awesome. Some of them might try and message you
Yeah, please do.
to get moved up. Um, maybe ask Alonzo something about himself or about his company or like, something personal. He'll know that you want to get moved up too. But this is great. All right. Take care. Talk to you
All right,
soon.
guys, have a good one.
I'll see you tomorrow for the career deep dive.